And a CBS News investigation has found that thousands of tons of dangerous coal ash is being brought into the mainland USA. And this comes as the Trump administration weakens regulations on coal plants. CBS News tracked the massive payload being shipped from Puerto Rico to Jacksonville, Florida. CBS News chief investigative correspondent Jim Axelrod has this report.
The cargo this ship heading toward the port of Jacksonville, Florida is hauling is coal ash, a toxic byproduct when coal is burned to generate electricity. The Mississippi enterprise that arrives in Florida with its boatload of coal ash begins its journey right here, 1,200 miles away in Guayama, Puerto Rico. This is a conveyor belt loading the ash from a coal-fueled power plant half a mile away onto the boat. The AES power plant generates 300,000 tons of coal ash each year, and there is no disposal facility on the island. The people of Puerto Rico don't want the coal ash, so they passed a law that it cannot be stored here.
The coal ash waste overflows out of the conveyor system.
Lawyer and activist Ruth Santiago has been battling AES to provide better safeguards in disposing its coal ash. You see this barge full of this stuff that everybody says is toxic, and it's pulling into Florida and then going to other communities for disposal. What's your warning to them?
They should not allow the import of the toxic coal ash to their communities.
Exposure to coal ash is what concerns Dr. Osvaldo Rosario, a professor of environmental chemistry at the University of Puerto Rico. Coal ash, chemically speaking, how dangerous?
It's full of toxic materials, arsenic, selenium, chromium-6. You'll begin seeing respiratory problems, higher levels of cancer.
Multiple studies show that exposure to coal ash is hazardous. Plenty of people in Tennessee will agree with that. On December 22, 2008, a dike ruptured at the Tennessee Valley Authority power plant in the town of Kingston, spilling more than 1 billion gallons of coal ash. Before the spill,
yes,
in December of 2008, were you healthy?
Yes. I was in perfect health. I didn't have no medical problems.
Elmer Lau spent 2 years as a cleanup worker without the necessary protective gear to prevent him from breathing in the coal ash, says his wife Donna. He's part of an ongoing lawsuit against the company that hired him. What did he look like when he would come in the front door?
It looked like it was white and it was clay and it was nasty mud, but it wasn't mud. It was the coal ash on him.
Lau went from an active and healthy man to suffering from Addison's disease, lupus, arthritis, gout, asthma, and an enlarged prostate. The Obama administration in 2015 established new federal regulations for coal ash storage, including monitoring of nearby groundwater as well as its disposal.
We have ended the war on beautiful, clean coal.
Regulations the Trump administration's EPA, headed by former coal industry lobbyist Andrew Wheeler,
and I'm not at all ashamed of the work that I did for the coal company,
is in the process of weakening. When I tell you that there are tens of thousands of tons, maybe even more, of coal ash coming into the mainland United States from Puerto Rico, does that concern you?
It sure does.
My nominee, Gina McCarthy.
Gina McCarthy was the EPA administrator when the 2015 regulations were implemented.
Rulemaking is supposed to protect people. What I would call a rollback and a weakening of protections is focused more on making the industrial pollutant not have to pay to clean up their pollution, and much less about the protecting the disadvantaged communities that government is supposed to protect.
The EPA said in a statement, quote, a majority of 2015 rules remain in place and are being implemented on schedule. Andrew Wheeler declined our request for an on-camera interview. And AES said in a statement, quote, we comply with all local and federal regulations, and furthermore, the EPA classifies coal ash as a non-hazardous material. You can read the full statements on our website, cbsnews.com.
So, Jim, how is the Trump administration weakening these regulations?
So let's take one regulation that was part of the 2015 package of regulations. Coal ash is often stored in ponds. And in some cases, those ponds are not lined so that if there is a toxic element, it can leach right through the ground into the groundwater supply. So one of the things the 2015 regulations addressed was that those pits had to be lined. They had to be lined. Every coal line storage pit had to be lined by April of 2019. The Trump administration has pushed that back to August of 2020, and in some cases, some companies can wait until 2028 to have their storage pits lined. That's an example of the kind of weakening of the regulations.
And in all those years, those elements can seep into the groundwater potentially. Jim, thank you.
Thank you.